Hello?
Hello, Hilly Heather.
Yes, this is Helen.
Oh, this is Walter Battaglia from
Hello,
Mackenzie
finally.
University. Finally, yeah. It's more practical to use the phone, the conventional. Yeah, I'm using Skype in this moment, but with the phone service they offer. So, okay.
Is it okay on the phone? Is it okay for you?
Yeah, yes, it's perfect. Are you
Okay.
listening me well?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, first of all, I'd like to thank you for accepting participating in this interview. And it's a study we are conducting. It's part of a wider one. The objective you have in the future phase is to compare the regulation, the culture of the countries and its influences in the clinical trials development in a formal way in academia, so we can have the answer we want about this relation that we know that there is, but you don't have researchers that can prove this relationship. So this first phase is a qualitative study. We are talking with executives that are at the head of clinical trials in order first to try to understand the product mix and the relation with aspects of the regulation and culture. Culture and regulation you are taking from secondary data that they are available. So the interviews, we are collecting the primary data from the executives, and then we are going to contrast with the regulation of some countries. In the first phase, we are studying. We choose to study Denmark and Brazil as new regions for developing trials, and Canada and the United States established in traditional areas of regions for trials. So this is the first moment in which we are, in order to try to understand the dimensions of the regulations when you compare the regulation between the countries. The future study will be a quantitative one, and so we are thinking instead about 20-25 countries. So thank you very much for participating in this phase.
So did you choose Denmark because it's a part of we have the collaboration with the Brazilian authorities?
We are working with the CBS, the Copenhagen Business School. Professor Bo and Professor Foss are involved in the research too. So, but the collaboration is of course a main point, but the choice was done considering the Canada as a new area that have been developed used by the sponsors for trials. We are going to have two countries or regions that are traditional areas for trials, United States and Canada, and we are going to also study Denmark and Brazil. Okay? Okay, thank you. So I sent you the script. The script we have 4 modules. Basically, the first module is the characterization of the organization and the respondent, and the other 3 are modules that try to characterize the trials, aspects of the product mix in trials services. Okay. Also, my first question is, what's the main activity of your organization?
not the one that I'm the leader of. The whole organization is Danish Medicine Agency, so we regulate medicine in Denmark.
Okay. And what is the number of employees of your organization?
450, so it will be C.
Okay. When your organization was founded?
It was in 1996, I think.
Okay.
That we were. Before that, we were part of the health authority. We were just a department in the health authority.
Okay.
So now we are our own agency from 1996.
Okay, and now about the characterization of yours. What is your job title?
My job title is Head of Department of Clinical Trials.
Okay, and what is the hierarchical level of your job title?
There is team leaders, and there are head of department, and there is directors, and then there is the CEO. So I will be the third level. Now 4 levels of managers, and then there's the staff.
Okay, and how many years do you work for your organization?
12 years.
Okay, and in the pharmaceutical industry?
Yeah, I worked there for 4 years.
Okay. Okay. So we pass to the second mode that try to characterize the therapeutical classes and services that are offered in Denmark. So the first question is, what are the therapeutical areas and services that company have preferably developed the clinical trials in Denmark?
That will be oncology and hematology.
Okay, and from your perspective, what are the major facilitators to undertaking clinical research in these therapeutical areas and services in Denmark?
We have a strong research environment, and also there's a lot of money in cancer oncology research in Denmark, so there's a lot of knowledge also for the early phase trial.
Okay. Do you think this is the main factor as a facilitator?
I would think that it is because there is a strong research environment. I would think that. Okay. So we have a lot of key opinion leaders.
Okay. And what are the major barriers? Do you identify some barriers to undertaking clinical research in these areas?
In the oncology area, I think that would be the number of patients, because we're such a small country.
Okay.
So, yeah, because now that the personalized medicine is becoming more popular, and there's more trials with that, then you need to have a specific genotype or mutation to get into the trial. So it will be even more difficult to find the right patients.
Okay. And do you feel that there are clinical investigator or trained professional shortage in Denmark, or no?
Yeah, actually sometimes there's not so many. They have problems with getting enough staff for the. Not that they're not trained, but I guess to hire and have these investigators just focusing on clinical trials, I think sometimes it's a problem. So there's not so much
Okay. Well, then we pass to the third model. The third model try to characterize some factors, variables that appear in the literature and its influence in the trials that are developed. So the first question is, from your perspective, does the worldwide size of the clinical trial company influences its choice to operate in Denmark? Talking about CROs?
No.
Okay.
No.
And about the corporate organization of clinical trial company as a publicly or privately held one, do you think this influences the choice to operate in Denmark?
No. We have 50% from each, so.
Okay.
So it's yeah.
Perfect. And about the classification of being a non-traditional country in the field of clinical trials, do you think this influenced the choice to operate in Denmark?
No. There's a lot of actually Danish companies that do not do trials in Denmark, so you cannot. No, it will have no influence, I think.
Okay, and the existence of bilateral agreements between Denmark and the clinical trial company's origin country, do you think this interfere in the choice to operate in Denmark?
No. What do you actually mean by a traditional country, as opposed to what kind of country? What do you think?
Okay. We are thinking about traditional areas for development of clinical trials as United States, Canada, UK, and others that have developed the trials for some decades. And the new emerging areas, when we are talking about the non-traditional in this way that have established as a region in the last decade or the previous one.
Okay, so you think that so you consider U.S. non-traditional?
U.S. a traditional area. U.S. Canada,
okay.
UK, traditional.
Okay, so it's the same as Denmark.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel it was? I guess so. Yes, I would say that. But what would be a non-traditional country?
Oh, a non-traditional, a country that began to have a more large number of trials in the last 2 decades. Considering the market, the characteristics of ethnicity and the different weather and maybe food that are in the regions of the country, or have very large series with hospitals, good sites, and so sponsors have began to choose these countries for develop the trials. So new in this way, new in the period of time in which trials have been developed in scale at that country.
Okay. I don't really have a good answer to that. Especially in clinical trial coming to operate in Denmark. I don't know if it's right to say that we have the regulation as a really strong regulation, or is that because I couldn't really understand. I'm sorry, because over the phone, that the non-traditional country is a country that has a lot of trials now, or what did you say? I couldn't really understand.
Oh, yes, a country that 3 decades ago didn't have a lot of trials, and in the last 2 decades became to have a crescent number of trials.
Okay, so they are not involved in the ICH, for example?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're outside ICH, the International Harmonization.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that because we are more harmonized, so I think in our regulation, so I think that the companies, they would choose more choose countries that are perhaps more harmonized with the regulation.
Okay.
But also we do not have so many patients, so sometimes it's nice to go to India or China or whatever, so where we have a lot of patients, right?
Okay, perfect. And in this sense, we enter in the fourth model, the last one, about the characterization of the region. So, in your opinion, the harmonization is a major facilitator to operate in Denmark. Is that?
Is it 4.1 now?
Yeah, no. In this way, your answer in the last phrases and talk is about 4.2. Yes,
Is it 4.1 now, I guess?
Yeah. Because as harmonization is a facilitator, as in your speech.
I do not think that we have Danish population-specific requirements.
Okay.
No.
Okay, and do you identify more facilitators to undertaking clinical research in Denmark?
We think that it's technical knowledge, and that we have the infrastructure, and we have key opinion leaders, and it's easy to make contracts with the sites, the investigators.
Okay.
There's it's very laborsome to make the contracts. It can take a lot of time, and you need lawyers and so forth.
Oh, okay. And so returning to the 4.1, do you feel that specific requirements of the Danish population interfere in the...
That was the one I said no to before.
Ah, okay.
So you were in the 3.5?
Yeah.
Sorry, I lost you.
No problem. No problem, because we went...
so sorry. Do bilateral agreement between Denmark. Sorry, it was complete rubbish what I said. You can delete that.
Okay.
So, between Denmark and clinical trial companies.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I don't think so. Perhaps, yes. The number 3.5, can I answer that? The 3.5.
Okay. About the bilateral agreements.
We know that we have some bilateral agreement also with China, and they have recently opened a headquarter in a Chinese company in Denmark. So in that way, when the countries have, cooperation, it's perhaps it can influence whether a company will move to that country, the other country.
Okay, interesting, very interesting. And and about barriers, do you perceive some barriers to undertaking clinical research in Denmark?
Yes, we have the price for conducting the clinical trials at the sites So there's a high price for taking blood samples at the hospital, and paying a lot of overhead in Denmark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we are finishing the 4.4 now. Do you perceive some actions that the federal government could take to mitigate this constraining factor, for example?
Mm-hmm. Our government recently issued a life science strategy. They did that in March this year. I can send you that if you want me to.
Okay. Okay.
The Danish... Did you get that? We have the government, they have a life science strategy.
Okay. Okay, and do you think this strategy would have effect in short term?
Yeah, I think it will have an effect, because it's going into the whole chain. The life science and the clinical research. It's a long chain with a lot of joints. So, and they're, for example, getting rid of the fees from the government fees for the companies, and they're having this public-private partnership that's taking care of linking the companies with the research scientists at the hospitals. And they have different initiatives that when you add them all up, I think it will definitely help life science in Denmark.
Okay. Really, this finishes the questions and the interview. If you want to say more something about the trials in Denmark and the whole of your organization.
Actually, this type of questionnaire, we have this organization in Denmark called Next Partnership. They will actually have very detailed answers for you. I don't know if you're only speaking to the authorities, or what is the scope is that you speak to the authorities, or could you speak to other organizations?
Yeah, with other organizations too. We are talking with authorities, agencies, and also with companies and other kind of organizations involved in clinical trials. So it would be very interesting if you have an indication you think it's interesting to include in the research. I would thank you very much.
Yeah, I have that. If I can send you some contact details for that, because I think it could be interesting for you to also talk to them.
Okay, it would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, and would you send me through email, for example, or?
Yeah, I will send you an email. Yeah.
Okay. Hilly, thank you very much, and we are going.
You're welcome.
As we finish the research, we are going to prepare an executive summary, and then I send it to you. If you want the complete work also. And when I be in Denmark, some times I go to Denmark to talk with the partners, the university partners there. Then I may take them to you, and if possible, maybe we can have a talk and explain the results we have gotten with the interviews and the work, and I think very much.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Definitely
you should do that. We will probably come to Brazil next year, because
really?
to visit the authorities in Brazil. Yeah, I think. Yeah. But you're
Oh.
situated in Sao Paulo, right?
Oh yes, yeah, I am in São
Yeah.
Paulo. And if you come to São Paulo, please let me know. So if you have
Yeah.
some time, we can receive you in the university and talk. We have a group of professors that are studying these questions related to the institutional environment and the influences in the sectors. It will be wonderful for us if you have a period, a time for visiting us would be very good.
Yeah. Ah, nice. I've been to Brazil actually many years ago. It was wonderful.
Ah, really?
Yeah, I was attending a conference in Sao Paulo. So
Oh.
yeah, I've been there, traveled all over the country. So it's a really nice country.
Oh, and for much time you stayed in São Paulo?
A week.
A week.
And then we also,
okay.
we went to Salvador and Rio and yeah.
Yeah, short
So that was a
period
really
of time. Yeah.
O Preto we were also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so please let me know, okay? And if I go to Denmark, to the rest of Copenhagen, so I send a message to you too. Okay, thank you.
That sounds so good.
Thank
I
you.
will send you some contact details for the public-private partnerships, so you can get in contact with them.
Ah, okay, please. I wait for the email, your email. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice
Bye
evening.
bye.
Yeah, bye.
Yes.
British Columbia, but it really depends on what is the therapeutic area. Like, for example, if you would go with a diabetes type of trial, we would go more on the GP side. Of course, it depends on the nature of the study, but any type of study that would be more GP oriented, just like blood pressure measurement whatsoever, would go more on the GP side. And if we're going to much more specialized niche population or sometimes just oncology, then you would go on more hospital-based setup, so more going to university health network system.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In terms of market size and costs for physicians and nursing, do you think it's okay?
Oh, yeah. I would say definitely, I would say cheaper than in US because of, and I would say as far as Europe is concerned, we're kind of cheap place to run trials because of the Canadian dollar value. We're right now at 75 cents US approximately. I didn't check for today what the market is, but it's even more cheaper than Europe. So what could be considered cost more, it's travel distance. When you have CRAs going, like from my end, from Montreal all the way to Vancouver, it's a 5-hour flight. So it's a large country. So,
okay.
And as I have to say sometimes to my European colleagues, keep in mind that we can do red eye within our own country here. So there is 5 different time zones. So.
A large country, yeah. Okay, so we pass to the third model. So the first question is about the influence that the size of your company has in being acting in Canada in this moment. Do you think the size impacts this decision?
I would say right now it's pretty small as far as impact because they have an office in Mississauga, but since it's a mid-sized company, not a lot of people have been exposed as far as workload of Pharmalam. Right now, Pharmalam is in a growing state, and this is something that they want to grow bigger. So it's definitely for the years to come, they just say there is a plenty of marketplace to conquer.
Okay. And what about the corporate organization as being a privately held company?
Yeah? It's not on the
Okay. Do you think your company's origin country influenced the decision to act in Canada?
No, I would, for the following reasons. It's a U.S.-based company, kind of coming here in Canada to run trials. It's kind of a natural reality due to the geographic proximity. I would say from my end, being bilingual, French and English, Montreal-based because I'm based in Quebec, and Quebec has French as official languages, both as English, just like Canada, but here in Quebec, it's a majority French-speaking. I have some time to make sure that it's clear for my U.S. colleagues, as well as anywhere worldwide, that Canada has two official languages. So to ensure that everything gets translated in French, Canadian, as well as English. But of course, it depends on where the study is run. Well, for example, if you would have someone in Toronto and I would say Edmonton, then you don't necessarily need French-speaking material. But if you have something run in Montreal, Ottawa, Quebec, Sherbrooke, whatever, in French Canadian location, then you need to get that translated. So bottom line, make sure you, from my perspective, to provide the local reality needs to global trials, which makes sense because when you're having a multinational trial, you need to have kind of a local subject expert in all those locations to ensure, okay, in your country XYZ, what actually are the needs and how do we need to proceed to move forward with the project.
Okay. Canada is classified as a traditional country in the field of clinical trials. Do you think this class impacts in the decision to act in Canada?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say traditional and I would say reliable. As far as Canada, overall, generally delivers what the expectations are. Not that I've seen this here yet, but on other places, due to the lack of population, we're only, I think it's 35 million from the latest count. 1/10 of the U.S. population. Sometimes we're not being seen on a worldwide level as kind of a priority as far as selecting a country because of that. But that doesn't mean that down the road we cannot deliver. So.
Okay. And do you think that your company origin country is also a factor that influences to act in Canada too?
Yeah, I would say maybe yes, because a lot of people, especially the people in Europe, don't necessarily get how the regulatory process to start up a study works in Canada. So some have to authority, which is Health Canada. Then in parallel, you can have it submitted to either local ethic committee, if we're going to a hospital-based setup, for example. If we're going to kind of more private clinic level, then to a central ethic committee. So, but both can be done in parallel. So it's kind of just to have them understand. Then you have, depending on the type of trial, provincial ethic committee, like for example, OCRED in Ontario Cancer Research Ethic Board. So it's again, same thing, just to provide the regional reality to the appropriate group in Europe, because it's not like I know it seems to be like that from my understanding of it. Country regulatory approval and everybody can work with that. It's unfortunately not that simple here. That's, I would say, sometimes a downside.
Okay. Okay.
It drives people insane sometimes.
Okay, certainly. Okay. Okay, so we pass to the last model about the geographic region characterization and begin with the question about specific requirements of Canadian populations. Do you think this is a determinant factor for your company to act in Canada?
I would say it depends on the therapeutic area, because unlike the U.S., we do have, and it's a bit of our similarity with Europe, we do have a public healthcare system, and this is something that I bring to the team. It's like, what is the market reality of your potential drug here? is there a need that needs to be met? And it's like, maybe from my perspective, because I used to work on the big pharma level, it's like, ultimately, it's like we don't care much if you have a true revolutionary product. If there's no need to meet, it's like it's a dead-end adventure. Sometimes it can be a benefit, the setup. Sometimes it could be a downfall. But again, it's kind of on a case-by-case scenario. But since from our company, we are kind of focusing more on the rare disease level, so we are automatically dealing with kind of niche population. So as far as market need, there is one, because it's subpopulation that there is not necessarily a lot of drug development in those. So there is no competition, I would say, out here. So I would say it's pretty favorable.
Okay. And on the second question, this model, on your regulatory experience in Canada, what are the major facilitators to undertaking clinical research?
I would say the fact that we can use Central Ethics Committee, that when you have US, Canada can be on board at the same time, as long as, of course, they meet the Canadian regulatory regulation, but all the big companies, IRB Services, Word, these are the kind two that I'm more familiar with. They meet both FDA and Health Canada regulation, so it makes it pretty a good selling point when you organize trial that would use a private practice. When we go to big institution-wise, the way I kind of sell it is that due to our public health care system, we have less turnover on staff to run the trials than in the U.S. Here it seems to be a bit more stable from the glance I've seen of it. So quality-wise, maybe also because education is partially publicly founded, we tend to have the side of course, the medical doctor side, a higher, I would say, education of the overall staff.
Okay.
So as far as quality of the data being generated, I would say it's pretty much above, I would say, what you would get in general.
Okay. And how do you rank these factors you mentioned in order of importance, top down? Okay.
I would say the central IRB thing that it's combined with the US, I would put that as number one. As far as why to pick Canada on a worldwide scale, I would say that. Second, I would say the overall track record experience as far as deliverables in clinical trials. People meet their commitment. Not necessarily saying that it's high numbers necessarily, but especially the fact that on a rare disease level, when I have PIs committing themselves to a certain number, that's what they'll deliver. So I would say number two would be reliability and quality as well. That comes with it. Number three would be maybe I would say diversified population, since it's such a big country from coast to coast, and we're a population here of mainly an immigration country, that people move in more than move out. Makes it that as far as pool of data variety, it's pretty much also, let's say, appealing. It's not kind of too much standard. We can have good variety. So this is how I would sell it.
Okay.
But depending on the therapeutic area, it would be easier to put specific. Like for example, if you ask me in oncology, multiple myeloma, which I've worked for a couple of years, I could actually say, look, You want to run a trial, just tell me the number of sites you want, because I can tell you work with them, with them, with them, with them. Why? Because I've worked with them personally. I can tell you how they work and what they can deliver.
Okay. Okay.
So also, I would say personal experience, I would say also on that.
Okay. And what about the major barriers? What are them and how do you rank them?
I would say the major one would be when using big institution, budget negotiation. It's always a pain in the A word. Oh boy, it's a nightmare. In big pharma, we used to have kind of 10 standard contract template to try to speed things up, but with this smaller company where our clients are smaller biotech, there is way much more variance.
Okay. Okay. And Ken, are you hearing me? Hello, Ken? 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 Hello, Ken? Hello? My turn. Oh my god. Sorry. Was a problem with the communication. It stopped. Okay, it returned. Okay, okay. So you are talking about the barriers, and do you have want to comment something more?
I would say budget negotiation with sites, especially when you're involving a big institution. It's sometimes tricky just to get the whole process started, because there's no such a thing as a country budget. It's literally institution, not even provincial. It's really from one institution to another, so that can be difficult. If you go to private clinic, it goes way much more faster, but still. So for big institution, the contract is a big thing. The second of all would be the complexity of the regulatory authority system to start a study. It's not as straightforward as in the US or in Europe. You have Health Canada, and depending on the therapeutic area, provincial / local ethic committee that needs to step in. But again, it depends on the type, the nature of your study. And I would say third thing, it's the territory to cover. We're not France. France territory just entered 3 times just within Quebec. So there is huge distance. I cannot take my car, go to Vancouver, go to Toronto, and go back at home tonight. It's few hours of flights for transportation. So, and there is a cost factor way much more bigger than if I would be somewhere like France or Great Britain or Germany, because the density population per square meter is like 2.6, if my memory serves me well. So, which is pretty, there's nobody out here. Outside of the big cities. So it's like, you're flying, when you go like from Montreal to Vancouver, you fly over huge territory of nobody.
It's interesting.
So it's like no man's land, like, it's like where we are, somewhere lost in northern Ontario, and it's like,
peculiar situation, yeah.
Find some people. It's like not until another hour flight, so it's like, be patient.
Okay.
And that's another thing, I cannot say, our train system is crap. It's like, no, it's not Europe. It's not like a huge, highly reliable system, better than the plane for relatively large distance. Here, due to the density of population that it's pretty small, train is not as much reliable. It's like, no joke, with your car you can go there faster, which is not normal, but it's just the way it is. So it's like you have to make the best of it. So.
Okay. And have you been asked to amend the clinical trial protocol?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
The question should be, is there a study where you even have a protocol amendment?
Okay.
Oh boy, always.
And how the amendments are troublesome or expensive to accommodate in your experience?
I would say it's more depending on the nature of the amendment, but for all of them, it goes through the same process regardless of if it's a significant amendment or a smaller one. And that being just going back to the regulatory approval process. Then if it's a complex amendment, it might have budget impact, so then it may get delayed. But I would say so far from my recent experience, no significant delays or problem came with the reapproval process. I would say at least the bright side, when the studies get up and running, it's pretty much straightforward for getting amendment reapproval. So I wouldn't say that caused a particular problem. Okay. But again, it's a case-by-case scenario because it depends really on the nature of the complex of the amendment. How big has an impact on study conduct? Does also that have a lot of impact on the review of the informed consent that also get translated? Does it have also impact on the material, an impact on the e-diary? Are we having more visits? So it really depends on how complex the amendment is.
Okay. And do you think there are actions that the federal government could take to mitigate constraining factors?
I would say not necessarily as far as federal government, but I would say pretty much more on a regulatory level, on a provincial level, if the process could be straightforward. As far as, just like in Europe, where you have a country-specific approval, I would say they would be interested to have it maybe more straight-lined, the process here in Canada, that okay, you need to still go through Health Canada approval, but on the local level, could we have much more provincial ethics committee review? But it's extremely complex because there's a lot of parties being involved, and it would not be particularly simple. Like, for example, in Ontario, I found they have a good system with oncology. They have OCREM, Ontario Cancer Research Ethics Board. In Quebec, it's a different system that personally I don't find it pretty good nor efficient. So there would be a way maybe to gather more of those people to ensure to straight line, standardize more the process on how things are submitted, who approves it, and approves it on behalf of whom. In a nutshell, there's really area of improvement, but it's not more on the federal level, it's more on the provincial level that needs those improvement to be made.
Okay, and do you think this is the action that would have the greatest impact?
It would help, but I would say the only, I would say, thing that could benefit is to shrink a bit the time of startup study in Canada.
Okay.
But it would depend again from therapeutic area to another. If you're involved large institution, but again, you may solve the ethics side, but you won't necessarily fix the regulatory component on it. So there would be also to streamline a bit the process as far as the legal language in contract, to have it standardized, saying up front, okay, this is what we need to have. Make sure it's straightforward like that to speed up the process.
Okay, so we finish with this question. I'd like to thank you again, your availability, and we are going to elaborate executive summary, so I send it to you if you are interested. I think you want that. Okay, so again, thank you very much for your time, Ken.
And, it's been a pleasure, and have a great weekend.
For you too. Okay, bye-bye. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.